In the next episode of the Mindful Runner podcast, we're talking with Lodelia Kombrink, her coach Anja, and her husband Divan Kombrink. Lodelia recently came second at the MUT 100 miler, and this is the story of how the race unfolded for her. I think for context's sake, we speak about Cradock Pass, which plays quite a pivotal role in the story. And Cradock Pass comes at about 16 k's into the race. It's 4.5 kilometers long and almost 800 meters high. Quite a beast of a climb. I hope you enjoy the podcast. So this podcast is pretty special. We're going to be chatting with Lodelia Kombrink, who just recently ran the George Mutt 100 miler, came in second place after some amazing battles out on the course. Alongside her is her husband Divan, who's the main support team out there, and we'll be joined a little later by her coach Anja as well. Welcome, guys.
Thank you. Nice to be with you.
So the real drama here started at least 24 hours before the race. The first thing I knew about it was a message popped up going, oopsie, I'm in trouble. Talk us through that, Lodelia.
Yeah, it was dramatic, like you can't explain. So Tuesday, I was still at work and I had a pretty hectic day at work. Put in leave for the Wednesday, Thursday to prepare myself mentally for race. And then I start to feel not very well. Tuesday night was a bit of a struggle. And then Wednesday woke up with a very bad tummy bug, which I thought like usually would pass us within 24 hours. But 24 hours came and it went, and we realized it's not happening. This is not a 24-hour bug. So waking up Thursday morning, I said to Divan, now we need to do something. I can't keep anything down. I haven't eaten in 2 days. There is a problem. We need to do something. So we decided we're going to go to the doctor and ended up having intravenous injection, medication, all that stuff. They said, well, I'm fine. This will help. It would kick in within 24 hours. And I remember we were driving back and I said to him, we've got 24 hours. It's 11 o'clock. We start at 12 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. It's going to be pushing the limits. And yeah, I just kept faith. It was a bit of a struggle. You can ask Divan. I was crying most of the time and just going through my mind how hard I trained. I was sitting there, pre-race interviews with a smile on my face, but in the back of my mind, it was all about this might not even happen at all. So yeah, it was quite intense. It was extremely emotional and stressful. And yeah, I think we made the call that we will decide the Friday morning, 8 o'clock, what are we going to do? We were praying that I could keep food down and that the symptoms would get better. So yeah, that is how we went in the Thursday night and praying everything would be fine Friday morning.
And I remember a brief discussion between you and I on Thursday afternoon saying you need to face the reality of you might have to not race at all. I mean, how did that feel like, knowing that was a possibility?
Yeah, I think we, as athletes, we need to be realistic about that. Even throughout my whole training, it was never about chasing a podium position. It was never about finishing in a position. It was about reaching your goal time. And I think that made it, in essence, easier because you don't chase finish lines. You chase your personal goals. And although it is hard, it was also to look after yourself. So I really was in a space that it's not that I'm going for something. I've got this personal goal, but it's fine because I need to look after myself. So that in essence made it easier. I almost want to say I took the pressure off myself months ago. So yeah, but that reality is hard because you've put in the hours, you've put in the kilometers, the time. And yeah, I think Thursday night, Divan can confess to that. We had a moment where the both of us cried a bit and just faced and just talked it through and said, we'll be fine with whatever is going to happen. We need to accept that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think strategically, it had always been Cradock Pass was going to be long ago, like months ago. Cradock Pass was going to be the decider, right? It was going to be where you'd give it a bit of a push, give it a bit of a go. and see how the field responded. And that was completely off the table now. Now it was Cradock Pass to see whether you could even complete the race. How did Cradock
Yeah.
Pass go for you?
Yes. So it was, like I said, that was a strategy. I've ran Cradock Pass so many times. It was supposed to be where I make my move, and I felt actually very well going up to Cradock Peak. And once I turned there and started running down, it was like that tummy bug said, "Hello, I'm back for round number 2." And it was just horrible going down. When I got to the start of Cradock Pass, I couldn't consume anything. It's the first time I started vomiting. My tummy wasn't like I needed to find bushes every time. And the second and the third lady passed, and the men started passing me. And it was terrible going up Cradock Pass and not being able to run for even 2 meters. And I could see everyone just pulling away. And that was mentally extremely hard. That was really hard because that's what I prepared myself for. And every single time that I needed to stop, either whether it went north or south, it was just, I could feel the tears coming, and it was the deepest I've ever delved into myself to get myself up that pass. It was, yeah, that was dark moments going up Cradock Pass.
I know we were all watching the dots. Anja, you were watching the dots just as closely as the rest of us. How were you feeling when you saw that happening?
My nerves were just, the nerves were there, but I just knew she had it in her. If there's somebody that can just totally reset within a difficult moment, it's just superpower, one of them.
Yeah, it's mindset, isn't it? Just having the right mindset can make all the difference when you are having those deep moments.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, you need to be in a space where I almost want to say you need to trust. At that point, I was still with, I trust what I'm doing. I trust what I'm doing, and I trust what I've put in. So yeah, that still, it was still alive in the back of my mind. So I still hope that the mates would kick in at some point.
So Divan, you were there at that next big aid station, ready to catch. And what did you see when Lodelia came in?
So I know my wife pretty well, and I knew she was struggling because she wasn't going to be behind lady 2 or 3 if she was feeling good. That I know for a fact. And I think when she came in a few minutes after Jessica, I knew something was wrong. Wasn't quite sure what exactly, if it was the vomiting or the stomach. Apparently it was then both. But when she came in and she was still positive and not crying, I knew that she will do well. Because if she was crying there, then I knew that she kind of mentally gave up. But I kind of knew that she had a fight in her. And then we pumped her full of pills and gave her some nutrition. I said to her, "See you at the dam." And yeah, that's how we kind of went from checkpoint to checkpoint to kind of see how we. And I think things then made a little bit of a turnaround. She then passed Jessica and she felt a bit better. And then when we got to the dam, we did something that I've never heard of tried, but we used jelly powder, and that turned out to be one of the best things that we've ever done to settle the stomach. So there you go. There's a bit of a lesson.
Interesting. The gelatine. Yeah, interesting. What's your main role, Divan? How do you see your main role when you are playing the supporter, when you are at these aid stations backing up?
Managing all the emotions, trying to keep the bad Lodelia and the good Lodelia apart. No, I'm just there morally. I know what she needs and wants. I've done it enough that kind of when she comes in, she doesn't really have to ask me for things. Tend to be there, tend to do all the things that you don't want to do while you're resting. So fill up the water and get the nutrition right, get all the carb fuel right in a flasks, and then obviously the kind of foods that she enjoys certain parts of the night or the day. Yeah, and then it's a bit of a couple of hugs and a few kisses, and then I'm like, allez, allez.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So it's
I think
field
just to
medic,
add to that,
psychologist,
yes,
logistics officer, all of those things. Yeah. And then
add to that is that it takes preparation. although things started going south Tuesday afternoon, we still sat Wednesday night and we still planned. This is what we're going to do at this aid station. If I'm not going to get better, what is my nutrition going to look like? So we needed to go from what I usually do to what is going to work now. If you're having a stomach issue, you won't be able to eat. So it's like, okay, now we need to go to drinking stuff. What are we going to take? What are we looking at? How will we still get the nutritional value? What's going to work? So that still played a big role. I even want to say we went to the fact on Thursday night where we said, in what clothes am I going to start? If I'm nutritionally depleted, I would be colder more easily. So that's why I started with my long pants and my sleeves already. So there's a lot of that. You need to think broad. And I think that's one thing that also played a huge role in my mental capacity is we planned for the worst. I didn't expect it to go that bad, but we planned for the worst. And that made me also confident that if I would get to him at an aid station, we would not be caught by surprise. We planned this, we have a backup, and that really helps. So I think that's the one really great thing we learned out of it is how do you quickly go to plan B and manage it from there. And I think what he did very well is throughout the night when he saw me at Harold and realized things aren't getting better, he made a plan at the dam when I reached him there. So that was nice. That's also, you can assess and build on that. And yeah, I think the more you race, the better that relationship it can get for running for the athlete and crew.
I think also what happens is if you don't plan, then you get to an aid station and you're running around like a chicken without a head on, and you don't make good decisions. But if you, as you say, on Thursday night, you made those plans, then your head is clear. And as an athlete at the dam, you were 60, 70 Ks into your race, you're not feeling good. To expect you to make those decisions at that point it's not impossible, but it's just much easier if you get there, somebody you know and trust has already got the plans in place, and it's plans that you discussed, you're ready for the stuff, and so it's vital to have those plans.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think the important thing was also what Divan did is because now you're sitting with a stomach issue, you can't eat what you usually did. So even at the aid stations, you need to look now. And it's so nice that when we're running, we don't always think because you go into another mindset. But it's nice when I get to him, he would just remind me again and just confirm certain things and just, I want to say, keep me on track.
Yeah, keeping you grounded and on track. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, okay. So that's all of the drama and stuff. But talk us through from there. Like, okay, now you're into the 100-miler. You've got past Harold Wines. How did it unfold from there? I mean, what were the big moments, the dark patches, the good climbs? When did you get a second win?
Yeah.
You finished in second place, but you were in third for I don't know how long. How did that all unfold?
Yeah, I think if I can start, and Divan didn't tell you that, I think my darkest patch, and that is not very few people will know that, was really at Montague Pass. So I really wanted to quit at 23 kilometers, and I even told the aid station I'm done. And I was not in a good space. I was crying. I was literally crying, and all I could say is I trained so hard for this. And the people at that aid station were phenomenal. They sat me down. The medics gave me some medicine, and I had a huge pep talk from the people at the aid station. One of the people there actually sent Divan a message, which he only read on Sunday morning. And he just sat on the couch and he said, yes, if he must have read that Friday, he would have been stressed out completely. So yeah, that was quite something. And then I still managed to get up that mountain because they said to me, you're going to get up this mountain and you are going to give it your all. And we're informing the medics on the other side. They must have meds for you and you can make a decision that side. And it was really tough. I think one of my biggest aims was to get up to Keerberg at Keerkop in the light still. That was my main aim. And when I got there, I'm like, I'm actually 30 minutes ahead of what I planned. I can actually get down this side in the light. And I think that gave me so much confidence, still being able to reach those time goals I set for myself and feeling the way I did. And then I could switch on my headlight at Campus and went all the way through Harold. And when I got there, the third lady was there. What was amazing was my mother-in-law and my little girl was waiting at Harold. And I was just like, no, I can't stop. They came out at night. They're here 7:30 in the cold. I can't stop now. And I think there we just recouped. I had a discussion with Divan and he just said, you've got it. I took some extra tissues. And I just decided, I know this section. It's an easy section that I've also trained well. I'm going to go for it. And it wasn't very far until I caught Jessica. And then I just, it was just in my mind when I passed her, I've got this. I've got this. So that was a mental tick for me as well. And then just running all the way down, taking it aid station to aid station. I felt better from the dam. That really was great. That also was a nice section, but I got extremely cold. I think I was the athlete with the most clothes on. I was so cold. I had every single buff, everything I could put on, I've put on. Got down to Wilderness. There I missed the aid station. I ran 2 kilometers too long. That was also something because at that time my legs were really sore because I just didn't have the fuel and I didn't have the nutritional build-up pre-race. So still then I was still on time and I was just telling myself the whole time, you're still reaching your goals. You're still reaching your goals. The race is not over. The race is not over for me because it was my personal goals that counted. And I think one of the biggest accomplishments is when I realized I'm going to be at Oakhurst when the sun rises. And that was also one of the big things that I said to myself, if I can be there when the sun rises, it will be fine. I will finish before sunset. So that was those small, I almost want to say those personal goals that you set for yourself and you can reach them. The amount of energy it gives you and the amount of mental strength it gives you, it's just amazing. And then obviously going to Bergplaats, there was a very strong wind at that time, which wasn't nice. But running into Bergplaats, it was fabulous. I think that's the one thing of having home ground advantage. There was an ice cold beer waiting for me, which was amazing because when I wanted to fill my flasks, we forgot to put in all my hydration. So I didn't have any hydration in my pack. We forgot that at Oakhurst. So I was standing at Bergplaats. I'm like, where's my hydration? There's unpack my whole pack, nothing there. So I had half a beer, which helped. And I just said to myself, Bergplaats is not going to be the one section like all the other milers said broke them. This is going to be my strong point. And I really felt good going through Bergplaats. I think that's where I also made up some time. I really felt strong. And when I got to Tierkop, I was just overlooking the trail because you can see the trail on the other side of the dam where you need to be. And I'm going to give it my all now. I've got something left in the tank. I'm going to give it my all. And to be passing the second lady 7 kilometers before the end, I even get goosebumps just thinking about it. I mean, that's proper racing and that's what it get down to. So that was just before Tunnelbos. I know Tunnelbos. And then it was like 6 kilometers downhill. And my legs were shot. Oh my goodness. But I just kept pushing and pushing. And I just tried to maintain that. I know Simone is strong. I know she's a good road runner.
She's so strong. So yeah.
I know she had strength in her and I just needed to really push it, to give it my all.
Yeah.
So getting to trail kiosk, and see people there, then it starts to be a reality, then you're near the finish, the crowd is there, you can hear the music. I've got friends standing along the way. It was just absolutely fabulous. It's 2 kilometers I will never forget in my life. And I remember running all the way to the last little bridge we needed to go under and up and that last little hill to the stadium. And for the first time during the whole race, I looked back when I was running that uphill and I looked back and I was like, I've got this. I freaking got this. Yeah, it was. And running into that stadium, I keep on telling people I feel so humbled and I feel so small because it was just one of the biggest accomplishments for me personally to have pushed through, to think that I wanted to quit at 23 kilometers and I came back and I finished second. It was just phenomenal to run over that finish line.
Yeah. An absolutely amazing moment. And to see that George crowd responding to you coming in there, just mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
no,
interesting.
and that's sorry.
No, Karen?
No, what I wanted to say is that's what, yeah, that is actually what, like I said, it humbles you when you run in there and you just see all those people and you hear all those people. And I almost want to say how excited and how passionate the community is about trail running and
Yeah.
how much local runners mean to the community and even to the race. That was just, yeah, I will never ever forget that.
Yeah.
Even before you came in, when they announced that you overtook the third lady and you were second, the whole stadium just erupted.
Yeah.
Just we were all waiting there and like thinking, of where are you? So yeah, so special.
And for you, Anja, how does it feel watching your athlete execute under pressure like this, especially knowing how close you came to like not starting at all?
No, I never worried. So in the sense of worry, but I cried so much because I knew how hard she worked for this. And I just prayed and I just said, you know what, she worked for this. It's her home ground. She worked so hard. She gave up so much, so many mornings where you could lie down and cuddle. She would get up and she would go training. A tough time at work, full-time work, new mommy, studying. I mean, with her support network, it's, thank goodness for that, along with her dedication. So for me, that was the big thing. The big thing for me was, please let her just do this, be able to compete and give her best. And the whole time, she was spot on our plan. It was in the last couple of hours where she sort of pulled back in terms of the strategy, but pushed in terms of position. And so I was just blown away. And to think the top three ladies, just correct me if I'm wrong, but the top three ladies all broke the previous miler record.
They did,
Yeah.
yes. Yes,
Just
they did, yeah.
so from a personal point of view, it's like my athlete, it's like our athlete. We both work hard. And so from a personal aspect, it's like so close to hard. And I was so tired, not running 100 miles, but feeling like I've been there. Then just from a women's perspective, to say what these three ladies, all three accomplished, people would come to me and just ask, how does she do it? She has a full-time job. She has a baby. She's studying. How does she do all of this? And I think it just shows you what can be done, if you have the right mindset and to use those superpowers. You're given those superpowers for some reason, and the hearts you touch. Just by that Sunday run, people seeing you run up and down Cradock Pass where they just plan on doing it this once and staying alive, and you doing repeats on there. I mean, and the friends you've made, and you inspire everybody. But me personally, as a coach, I'm proud, so proud of everything, not just the race, the whole picture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As somebody who has watched a lot of miler racing, and we know Simone is so strong. For you to have run her down in that last section is just the most incredible demonstration of determination and just sticking to your process and going for it. Because, I mean, at what point did you know she was close to ahead of you? I mean, when you could overtake her?
No, I didn't. I know when we got to Oakhurst, Divan told me that she's about 37 minutes in front of you, and he's like, you can still do this, and I'm like, 37 minutes. It's a lot to run down for
It's a lot.
what's coming. I know what's coming, but I just said to him, I'm gonna stick to my plan. I'm gonna stick to my plan. That's what I'm gonna do. Just hold on. Sorry, I said to him, I'm just going to stick to my plan, and I'm not going to make any rookie mistake or going to try to push hard. I'm still within my time frame. And if I feel good, I will push from Bergplaats. So I still decided to take that section easy, I almost want to say just consume everything what has happened from the start during the night, and just talk myself through everything. And I never knew how far she was in front of me. No one at the aid stations told me. When I was at Tierkop and I overlooked those trails, I was just like, I wonder what she's wearing.
Oh.
Because I didn't
And on the dots, she was minutes ahead of you on the dots. I was yelling for those dots.
I didn't know where she was, and I didn't know what she was wearing. I didn't even know what to look for. And to be honest, when I turned that one bend and I saw a lady in front of me, only when I passed her and she spoke to me, I'm like, "Oh, Simone, it's you." And I realized that when I passed her, Lodelia, now the racing is on.
Yeah.
But it gave me so much strength just to know that I could actually run her down, because I saw her going up Cradock Pass and I saw her disappearing over the neck of Cradock Pass.
Yeah.
And my heart sank on Friday afternoon. It was really a tough time Friday afternoon. So for me to pass 7 kilometers before the end and just realizing, listen, you've accomplished something absolutely
Yes.
amazing. That was pretty special.
And testament to the fact that you've got to race all the way to the line. You can't give up anywhere.
Yep.
You can't settle and just go, okay, fine, I'm just going to take my third place. And you got to race to the line. And
Yeah.
you both pointed out, both you and Anja pointed out, that you were pretty much on your 28-hour timetable right up to Bath, in fact.
Yes.
You were behind time at T. That's the first time you were behind the 28-hour finishing time, which you'd
Yes.
set in December already, right? That was the target in December.
Yes,
Yeah.
I remember, and that was what was pretty special for me. And I don't think what people understand about this whole journey that we went on is that last year, this time, I was asking you guys, will it be possible to race? And you were like, yeah, yes, you would be able to do it. And I remember a few months later, I was like, do you think I would be able to do it in 30 hours? And you're like, yes, you would be able to. And I remember coming down and asking, do you think I would be able to do it in 28 hours? And it's amazing, because that also tells you of the progress that has been made in the training, the confidence that I had in the training, I almost want to say what's the word? Just how the training went, where we're going to, what the times look like. So that is testimony to that as well. And I think the most important thing is you need to trust what you put in. You need to. And you need to believe it, because otherwise it doesn't mean anything. If you just train without believing that you're going to execute your goals, then you're starting on the wrong mindset already. So that was pretty, for having that mindset. My pacing chart was pasted in my diary at work. It was up against the fridge in the kitchen. It was in my closet door. I memorized those times so by heart that I knew where I was at every single aid station checkpoint in that race. And I think that mentally helps one as well.
Yeah.
Maybe
having a plan
you can
and
also
the
talk.
confidence in your plan.
Yes,
Maybe you can
definitely.
talk a bit about your visualization process, because I think that's quite amazing how you visualize your whole race. Like you said, you're putting your pace chart everywhere, but your visualization process of seeing it all.
Yeah. So for me, it is when we've decided, okay, 28 hours, that's how it's going to be. I think from the start, I would visualize myself running these trails and getting to the specific checkpoints, and I almost want to say markers, peaks on that specific time. So what I would usually do is, like a week before the time, I would literally start my watch and I would virtually run the race, and I would tick off every single checkpoint. Am I on time? This is where I'm going to be. This is what the weather is going to look like. I see myself. I know what I'm going to eat. I know what I'm going to do. I know where I'm going to get dressed. I know where I'm going to put my headlight on. So I go through this in my head all the time, even in training. But that week before the time, that virtual race is like just not running, but mentally I go through it through the night. I'll be here. This is what I'll be doing. This is what I'll be eating. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to be cold. Prepare for that. So it is literally, I can taste the food. I know how much water to drink. I can taste the electrolytes literally. And I think that forms a big part, because that sets you ahead. Yeah. Hours. I almost want to say, if you can mentally prepare yourself. And also with that mental prep is, like I say to myself, you're going to get to Berg, the sun is going to come up, you're going to be tired. This is what you're going to do there. And like Divan said earlier, he knows me. So Sometimes there might be things like he did where he had warm cloths just to wipe my face down, to wipe my legs down, which helped a lot.
Yeah. So part of what we did in preparing for this one, a little differently than we have in the past, was we focused on things like breath awareness and mindfulness and mindset a lot more than we have previously. Did that come into play? Did that work for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think when things in the beginning started going south, I focused on just my breathing, just getting your breathing sorted and just to get to your inner self. Just take that control. Don't stress. Just try to keep it all together. And I think that's one of the things with all the repeats and all the big blocks that I did where we focus on try to reset your breathing, because the moment you start stressing and the moment you start worrying, your heart rate goes up and you don't want that. Now, even more so, I don't want my heart rate to go up. So I focus so much on breathing. When everything else failed, that was the one thing I could still control. I couldn't run. I couldn't go up as strong as I wanted to, but I could still control my breathing. And I think that helped a lot. I think that helped a lot to I almost want to say settle my stomach as well and settle my inner self, because there wasn't that additional, I want to say, emotional pressure that I put on myself from going into distress. So that definitely helped. I can remember even going into Bergplaats. I can still remember going that downhill. I was like, breathe in, breathe out. This is it. Take it. And that just calms one down. That just centers you, if I can mention that.
Yeah.
And that, like you said, it's something we've never done before, but it definitely helped to calm things down in this race.
Amazing.
Absolutely incredible. So let's do some lessons learned. Lydia, I know you've got a whole lot, but let's try and keep it down to give us some of the important lessons that you learned, and then we'll bounce it through to Divan as well. And I know you guys can give it some thought. What were your lessons from this one?
I think my lessons from this one is to start with is how important prior planning is. That is really something that stood out to me. You can't go into these things if you didn't think of everything. And that really stood out. If you don't take your aid stations and your checkpoints as serious, you're really going to run into trouble. You need to know what you're going to do, when, where, why, and how. And that is, I almost want to say, one of the, if not the biggest lesson that I've learned in this race. And then, the second thing that came to mind is just don't panic. A miler is a miler. A lot can change after 25 kilometers. So I think it was to be composed, to get myself in the right space again and to continue. To me, that is something that I will take out of it, because you can so easily say, I'm done. Again, you trust the process, you trust your training, you've trusted everything, you've invested in it, and you need to believe that. You need to make that your own in order to be able to finish. Yeah.
What did you learn during this process? The important
Oh
takeaways.
my. Well, first of all, that jelly and ginger beer thing that you guys learned. The doctor at one aid station said to settle the tummy. So definitely going to remember that one. And then I think overall, just for me in the whole big process, I loved how you and I could work together in coaching, Lodelia, where we both played a role and we could both play it off each other. And I feel it's amazing to be able to work as a team and then see this happen. And then also just the power of being there. So we had lots of athletes running this weekend. And I mean, for the one, I was already in my pajamas in bed and it was so cold. And I'm like, no, I have to see her finish. And I got out and I went. And it was just so worth it. It is so worth it just to be there and to give that hug. And I can't always be there. And I know you couldn't be there this time, but next time you there at NACMAT, you'll be there and I can't be there. So just that powerful, to look into each other's eyes, like, we did this. Look what, just we did this. So yeah, and just that I love my job. I definitely like this was a weekend away. It was a working weekend for me, but it was the best weekend ever. So yeah, no,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I think it's been a real honor for me to be part of the team. And as you say, we don't step on each other's toes at all. We both have quite clearly distinct roles, and it works beautifully. So and I've had a whole lot of fun. I really, really, really have.
That's the other thing, the support network, how important that is. You, Divan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Divan, I was just
exactly what
looking
I'm
to
doing right now. Trying to
looking to
look
you
after
for the
baby, the food, everything. So that's my support network going right there.
So for you, what your lessons learned, for the big lesson? Give us like one or two big lessons for you, other than the ginger beer and jelly, because we've got that one now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Big lessons learned. Maybe to, sure, it's hard to say. I think it depends on the athlete's strength. But lessons learned, I would say, nutritionally wise, I would maybe do a little bit more recovery drinks in between. So high protein. I think that kind of also helped a lot with her. We probably had one too little, I think. I think it would have made a difference if you had another one TKs from the end. In terms of racing strategy, I think you never really can allow the front runner to get too far ahead, because then they just go into like a chill mode, which means that if they're not racing, they are just, then they are just cruising along. And I think when you start pushing people into certain corners in terms of racing, then they start getting panicky. And I think so I think we had the right race strategy in terms of like pushing it hard, letting them catch up after the first 40. But when we changed that, I think we've learned that just sticking to your own game plan is actually best.
Yeah, good call. Stick to your game plan. That's certainly an important one. Well,
Yeah,
it's been
allow yourself
amazing.
to still race.
Say that again.
No, I'm saying allow yourself to still have something left so you can race towards the end.
Yeah.
Otherwise, then it becomes a walking contest, and you don't want that.
No. There's that old expression. Yeah, the first 2/3 of the race run with your head. So and the last third run with your heart. It's like that's when all bets are off and you just go as hard as you can with whatever's left in the tank.
Yeah.
It's been an amazing journey. It was incredible watching the dot. That 2 kilometers that you went out, I promise you, I sent Divan a message going, she's gone past the aid station. And then the next message back from Divan was, my wife is very angry right now. She's going to race hard now.
Yeah, we laughed about that one so much, but that's also a lesson learned.
I've got to.
Yeah.
This person quickly needs to go and do something. Can you please excuse me? I'm
Yeah,
sending you guys.
thanks.
Bye.
Yeah. Lodelia, thanks so much. That was like a masterclass in composure and
Thanks.
grit and trusting yourself and trusting your process. That's incredible. Anja, the grounded coaching, keeping her on point, providing the backup when she needed it, and Divan, the other part of the team, keeping the wheels turning when it was necessary. So
No,
wow,
you,
what a
don't
privilege being
forget
part of that
about
journey.
you.
No, it's an awesome journey. I said to Divan, I'm definitely not the same person sitting here today as I was when I started this race on Friday. It was like you matured within 29 hours on so many levels. And that is amazing.
Yeah.
It actually makes one excited for the next adventure.